Hi everyone, we are back with another video with you. Here is Shannon, and today we are diving into another course, which is pediatric nursing. Don't forget to subscribe and also hit that notification bell so that the next time I upload the next video, you'll be actually notified and then you'll be able to learn from that video. What is our topic of discussion today? We are going to dig deep into the pathophysiology of neonatal jaundice. The pathophysiology of neonatal jaundice. Before we begin, before we go into the pathophysiology, one thing we need to understand, we actually need to know what this condition is all about. We're not going to dig deep into the causes and all those things, but we're going to define it and then we go straight to the pathophysiology. We need to know how jaundice comes about. Whatever happens in the body, whatever happens in the neonat's body, we need to actually know it in order for us to understand this condition and how to manage it. To begin with, we are saying neonatal jaundice, this is just a yellowish discoloration of the neonat's skin. You know, you find that these babies, they're usually, when you look at them, their skin looks yellow. So that's the yellowish discoloration. And we find that when you look at their sclera, it's also yellow. You look at their mucous membrane, they're actually yellow. You look at their palms, their feet, they're actually stained with yellow color. So now going into the pathophysiology, how does this come about? What happens to a neonate for it to actually have this yellowish discoloration? There is what we find in our human bodies or in the body of a neonate, of which all of us has. It's actually the red blood cells. What are these red blood cells? What are its function? So we're going to pick one function, which is the transportation of oxygen from the lungs to all parts of the body where it is required, and then it is used up. And we find that in these red blood cells, there is what we call hemoglobin. So we find this is the component, or this is the factor which binds itself to oxygen and then carries it to all parts of the body. So how does jaundice come about? We've talked about the red blood cell, we've talked about hemoglobin. Now how does jaundice come about? So we find that these red blood cells, they have got a lifespan of at least 120 days. After that, they die. So after they die, where do the red blood cell actually goes? This is the beginning of jaundice. We find that this component which is found in the red blood cells, known as hemoglobin, it is actually broken down into two. I'm going to slow down a little bit in order to enable you, to help you understand how this condition actually comes about. So when hemoglobin is broken down into two, we find that here we have got hem and here we've got globin. So we need to know, where does globin go after it is broken down? So we are saying that globin is actually converted to amino acids. And these amino acids, they'll join the circulation and then go back to the bone marrow, the spleen, wherever the red blood cells are being produced from, and it is going to assist again in the production of red blood cells, which is known as erythropoiesis. You know, those amino acids will go back to the bone marrow so that there will be another production of more red blood cells, and then the globin part ends. How about this hem? Where does hem go after it is broken down? We find that hem is actually converted to unconjugated bilirubin, and we find that it's actually broken down into two. Hem is actually broken down into two, which is iron and also what? Unconjugated bilirubin. Where does iron go after it is broken down from hem? We find that iron actually goes back again to the bone marrow for erythropoiesis. It goes back just as it did for amino acids when it was converted from globin. It went back to the bone marrow for erythropoiesis or for red blood cell production. And then we have another thing which is left here under hem, which is unconjugated bilirubin. Where does unconjugated bilirubin go? We find that this is fat soluble, or lipid soluble. It cannot be digested, it cannot be let me just say it cannot be digested, therefore it will keep circulating within the bloodstream. So where does it go, and how does this lead to jaundice? We find that unconjugated bilirubin has a yellowish color. It has a yellowish color, and as it keeps accumulating, as red blood cells keep dying, and we find that there will be accumulation of more unconjugated bilirubin within the bloodstream, hence a child will begin to manifest with this yellowish discoloration due to accumulation of unconjugated bilirubin within the body. However, it's not supposed to end like that. It's not supposed to end like that. Unconjugated bilirubin is supposed to be taken to the liver for conjugation. So as it is in the bloodstream, we are saying it's a fat soluble. We find that it binds itself to this other plasma protein which we find in the blood, albumin. So albumin is a plasma protein. You know that you have to know the functions of albumin. However, that's not the story for today. We're only going to pick one function, which is actually binding itself to unconjugated bilirubin, and then this albumin will actually transport that unconjugated bilirubin straight to the liver for conjugation. And once it reaches to the liver, we find that unconjugated bilirubin will actually be converted to conjugated bilirubin by some specific enzyme, and you need to know that name of an enzyme because it usually comes in under one word answer. NMCZ will actually ask you that under one word answer. So I find that that enzyme which is found in the liver, it will actually break down that fat soluble unconjugated bilirubin into water soluble conjugated bilirubin. After it is broken down, where does it go? After it is broken down, where does it go? We now have conjugated bilirubin, which is water soluble. It will therefore join the biliary system, which is it will be actually part of bowel. It will actually escape from the liver down, joins the gallbladder down into the small intestines. And once they reach into the small intestines, we find that it goes up to somewhere there, up to the ileum. After it reaches there, we find that this conjugated bilirubin now will be acted on or will be acted upon by some specific bacteria which are found in the large intestines, and then it will be broken down. This is conjugated bilirubin that we're talking about. It will be broken down into stecobilin and urobilinogen. So where does this two go? We find that stecobilin will actually join the feces and then give it its color, and then it will be excreted as the neonate passes too. So that is stecobilin. It becomes part of the feces, and that's what gives feces its brownish color. That's stecobilin. And then where does urobilinogen go? We found that urobilinogen will actually join the portal circulation. It will actually be digested. It will be absorbed. It will join the portal circulation, and then goes, blood will actually go to the kidneys for purification, and then that is where urobilinogen is excreted. And once it is excreted, we find that it will actually give urine that yellowish color. But how does jaundice come about after talking all these steps, how hemoglobin is being broken down? We find that as unconjugated bilirubin accumulates in the neonate's body, there may be factors such as undeveloped liver, or maybe a child has got a liver that has not yet fully developed, and it can't release sufficient enzymes for that can conjugate that unconjugated bilirubin. And we may also find factors such as maybe a child has got low albumin levels to carry that unconjugated bilirubin to be taken to the liver for conjugation. Hence, that neonate will end up having what? Will end up having jaundice. So those are the factors. As much as you are explaining the pathophysiology of jaundice, you need to explain the whole thing that happens to hemoglobin until it is broken down to stecobilin and urobilinogen, where they are excreted. After that, you're going to write factors that may lead to failure for conjugation to take place in a neonate's body, hence leading to what? To jaundice. Thank you so much. That's the pathophysiology of neonatal jaundice. If you've got any question, don't forget to just ask in the comment section. Don't forget to like the video. You can still share with your fellow students. Knowledge should be shared. Thanks so much for your attention. Don't forget to subscribe and also hit the notification bell to ensure that the next time I upload a video, you'll be notified, and then you'll be able to learn from that video. If I'll find time, I may at least outline it on a plain paper just to write the steps to enable you match with this video, and then it will actually increase your understanding. Thank you so much for your attention.